Max Verstappen has opened up about his future with Red Bull, and it seems like the lack of performance has really got to the point where he would consider whether or not he'd see the end of his contract in 2028. There is a situation in which we could be looking at the Dutchman wearing the green suit of Aston Martin, now that there has been a lot going on in the Silverstone-based squad, primarily revolving around Newey and Honda joining from 2025 and 2026 respectively. So with all this in mind, could we see another massive shake-up sooner rather than later? And if so, how can Red Bull handle this deficit in their own rows? It goes without saying that Verstappen is currently holding the key to Red Bull's success, because had it not been for his talent and hard work, the championship in the drivers category would have been easily lost by this point of the season. His wins in Canada, Imola and Spain, as well as his podium finish in Silverstone and Singapore, are what easily brought him to the position he's in right now. But the fact that the RB20 hasn't been on the top step of the podium in 8 consecutive races now shows that there is still a lot of vulnerability in the Austrian team, and they might meet the repercussions because of it. Max Verstappen hasn't been shy to talk about his future in Red Bull, and while he said that the priority now is on other things, such as getting the car right in the operating window as soon as possible and winning the 4th championship in a row, that may well change sooner rather than later. The departure from Newey to Honda and the fact that the Japanese manufacturer has joined forces with Aston Martin from 2026 onwards might be too much to resist for Verstappen, who spoke about this situation quite recently, adding, "Yes, of course, I know it's always possible to change teams, but I'm not really thinking about it right now. I think at the moment I have enough to worry about with other things we want to do better. We will see what happens in the future. At the moment, I'm not really thinking about it too much, to be honest, but if it doesn't happen, then so be it. It won't change my life." Verstappen also stated that 2026 is a bit too far away for him to think about, and when signing the extension to 2028, he knew very well that this comes under the newly regulated era in which he hoped that Honda would remain with the team because of how good of a working relationship they established together. But the hot and cold games that Honda played with Red Bull have turned out to be pivotal for the Austrian team to work on their own powertrain, as they'll have it now powered up and ready from 2026 onwards. The question is whether or not this will be enough for the team to remain at the top step of competitiveness, which is kind of hard to understand from this point of view, because we have teams like Mercedes and Ferrari who are pioneers in the industry of building engines. This means that if the momentum swings towards the engine and the battery power, Red Bull could easily find themselves in a sticky situation that would definitely motivate Verstappen to think about a move elsewhere, and as of now, that move does seem to be Aston Martin. One of the closest allies that Verstappen has in Red Bull, Helmut Marko, has stated that the underperforming nature of Red Bull should definitely worry them in the long-term mission of keeping Verstappen at bay. Obviously, it would be too much for them to turn things around in such a short span of time, because if we're to look at races like Zandvoort and Singapore, Verstappen was more than 20 seconds behind Norris. And to believe that there might come a scenario in which the RB20 won't win a race until the remainder of the season is quite a realistic option. When talking about this, Marko said most big drivers have exit clauses in their contract that are performance related, and so does Max. So if we can't give him a car to fight at the front, then it will definitely be something he will think about. Red Bull has invested a lot in their future, and the collaboration with Ford is set to embark on a new journey for the Austrian team, as the badging of the engines will fall under the jurisdiction of the American company. Furthermore, Ford is considered to be a pioneer in the electric section of the automotive business, so this might be something that Red Bull could very well use in their own favour to try and extract as much power from the battery as possible, now that it's a 50-50 split between the deployment of the ICE and the battery. But according to Verstappen, this new partnership is a huge question mark, because there isn't a single soul in the paddock that knows what is going to happen from 2026 onwards. And when talking about it to a greater extent, the Dutchman spoke about whether or not this will affect the potency of the car, adding, "Of course, this is a huge question mark, but you can say that about everyone. It's a completely new car and engine. It's a question mark for everyone. Also for the people who think they are in the best position right now. There's always the question of whether you really did such a great job, and it will stay that way until the 2026 season starts. Still, we must add the fact that the turbulence that's happened in Red Bull has caused the Austrian team to lose significant members left and right, with 3 key engineers leaving for rival teams like McLaren, Aston Martin and Audi. To have the sporting director as well as the chief of strategy leave right after Newey is a huge blow for Red Bull, and the team admitted that they'll have some sort of issue when it comes to fulfilling these vacant seats, but they are not willing to give up just yet, and as long as they have Verstappen, they have a solid shoulder to rely on the track. The power struggle in Red Bull, however, is now taking the toll on the team, and this is something that both Jos and Marco have warned us about. Good people will start leaving the team if something doesn't change sooner rather than later. Not only did it not change, but the fact that Horner has grabbed even more power within the inner circles of Red Bull has caused, according to Jos, even more instability in the team, and all of that goes to show that the situation is still far from perfect. This is why Marco stated that the primary thing for Red Bull to achieve right now is to win the Drivers' Championship with Verstappen and show him that they have what it takes to continue the domination even in the new era. But in case they fail to do that, the 3-time world champion won't hesitate to look for a new home elsewhere. Furthermore, the senior Austrian said, "Max drives where he can win. Aston Martin has the most modern factory. The wind tunnel will be operational next year and Honda engines will be added to that. Everything fits." And if you look at history, it's clear wherever Newey has gone, there has been an upward trend. I don't know why it should be any different at Aston Martin. Max knows that he can win titles with us too if we can get through this World Championship now. That is also an absolute must. And a similar narrative has been shared by Jos Verstappen, who feels like the issue lies within Horner and the fact that he cannot hold a mirror in front of himself when it comes to the problems of the car. The father of Max has been in a war with the team principal of Red Bull for quite some time now, and when talking about the latest departure, Will Courtenay, who joined McLaren as he's been offered the position of sporting director there, Jos said, "Yes, this is what I warned about." The team then says, "Oh, it doesn't matter, we have someone else who we can put in that position," but it's too many people leaving now, and Max gets questions about it every time and so on. So yeah, I think it's just not good what's happening at the moment, and the problem is that Horner always glosses over the problem. All of this goes to show that the future of Verstappen is still all but certain within the circles of Red Bull, and with such promising projects coming from Aston Martin, as well as statements from Lawrence Stroll that he will not stop anytime soon in the pursuit of Verstappen, do you think that we will have yet another silly season in Formula 1 next year? And if so, who do you think would be the proper replacement for Verstappen for the F1 seat in the Austrian team? Let us know what you think in the comments below.